And welcome to another episode of Experts Speak. I'm Michael DeLon, and today I am talking with Jamie Lima. And well, Jamie, thanks for squeezing me into your calendar, man.
Oh, you're welcome. Glad to be here.
It is going to be a really fun conversation. Jamie is well, he manages the wealth of emerging millionaires. And I know my audience, a lot of them have that dream, but we're not financial geniuses and gurus. So what Jamie does with his team is they help mid-career professionals, they help them maximize their wealth and eliminate financial stress. Jamie, it's going to be a great conversation. Tell me, how in the world did you get to doing this?
Yeah, that's a great question. I appreciate you asking me. So, like a lot of people that I've come across over the years, I didn't start off with any money. My family didn't have a lot of money, and my mom and dad, my mother and father, are both working professionals and blue collar professionals, and they struggled. Growing up, we grew up I grew up on the East Coast. I grew up in a tiny little town in the smallest, but the biggest little state in the Union, right? Rhode Island.
Right.
We just didn't have a lot. And around the age of 7 or 8, somewhere around that time, my parents decided that they were going to get a divorce and went to go their separate ways. And I remember specifically, there was one time when one of my best friends, his name is, I won't share his name, but we'll just call him Rick. One of my best friends came over, and I remember we were the same age, 7 or 8 years old. And I specifically remember, you ever see the Dole banana boxes at the grocery store?
Yeah.
Right. I remember they took the banana box and put it on the counter full of groceries for us. And I remember that was, even being that young, it was such an impactful thing for me. I knew at that point things were rough. And even though my parents didn't share that with me, I could tell that things were really, really tight. And that put some stress on me that I carry with me even to this day, worrying about money and the concerns I have around money. And I don't know about you or your listeners, but we tend to gravitate towards the things that we don't have, right? Or we focus on sometimes the things that we don't have. I want a better career or a better car or all these things. And my thing was always, I want to be in a position where I won't have to worry about money. And I don't want my kids to ever feel the same way that I do in this very moment, in that moment, about finances.
Yeah.
And luckily, we've been able to shield our kids from that. Just to some extent, of course. I mean, kids are smart, but that's really where the drive came from, and that's where, going back to our tagline, so to speak, for the company, it's all about that financial stress and trying to help other people eliminate that, because that's something that's been ingrained in me for years and years and years because of that one experience. And I'll never forget. I can still, as we're talking about it, I can still picture his mother putting that box on the counter for us, and the feelings I had in that moment.
That's amazing. What a story. Thank you for sharing that. It's amazing because a lot of us have those stories, but we haven't dug down to understand what drives us or what our fears are. Because like you said, that happened a few years ago, and it still haunts you today in a sense, and it drives you to help make sure other people don't end up there. And finances is this really weird thing, Jamie, as you know. I mean, there are I do marketing for businesses, right? And there are bright, shiny objects everywhere in marketing that distract business owners. But the same can be said in the financial world. There's all these things in people in process, and nobody really understands what to do. And I like the way that you approach things. I love your target audience. So unpack for the audience a little bit about who you are, what you do. How do you help eliminate that financial stress and help mid-career people define that a little bit?
Sure.
Create that wealth and head towards that millionaire status.
Yeah, another great question. So think about somebody in your own life, and maybe your kids. I know you have some kids. You have a couple twins, I think, that you adopted, but I think your other kids are a little bit older. But think about where they are in their station in life, and probably where some of your listeners are in life, where they have all these moving parts. They have, for myself, my oldest daughter is literally right now back in Boston, looking at colleges, and we have some concerns about that. And is she going to be able to get in and be able to pay for it, and so on. And then I have aging parents now, and I mean they're young comparatively speaking. I mean, my father's 67, my mother's 65, and they hopefully still have a long way to go. But now I have some concerns about what's going to happen to them, and are they going to be able to take care of themselves, and so on. And then we're sandwiched right in the middle.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm the person that we focus on, right? Helping navigate all these different decisions that you have, and help hopefully eliminate some of the stresses around that. And how we do that is through our financial planning process. We are all everybody on my team, including myself, is a certified financial planner. Mm-hmm. And there is a particular process that we take them through. And really the first place we start, there's three key phases we take them through. The first is learning who they are as people, because that's incredibly important, and the goals and objectives that they have. And we'll spend some time with them learning about the financial nuances of their life as well. But we also, one of the most important pieces is who are they as people, and what do they really want to accomplish? Yeah. And then we get together and build a plan around that. And then my job at the end of the day is really just to present solutions to them to help them achieve the plan that we put in place. So we learn about, I call it, it's a profiling, planning, and a presenting phase where we profile them a little bit, learn who they are as people. We go through the planning phase, which is the second step, and then we give them solutions and present those solutions to them to help them achieve that. And it's kind of a wash, rinse, repeat process because we can't tackle all their problems all in one day. So we just create a roadmap and we just start working through them, and hopefully that'll put them in a better position where they can sleep a little bit better at night.
Yeah, well, that's cool, and I love the rinse and repeat aspect of it, because too many times in financial advising, I think we were sold a bill of goods a couple decades ago by, well, I won't mention the name, one of the big companies, and it was and their line every year was stay the course. Mm-hmm. And it's like, no, life is too dynamic, because a decade ago you didn't have a daughter going to college, and your parents were young. Well, things change, and that's why we need an advisor who can work with us. And the cool thing is, if I read everything right about you, you're virtual. And so because one of the deals, dude, I don't have time to drive across town to meet with you. Talk about that, as well as just the changing aspect of life, and how do you work with your clients through all these different stages from mid-career to old age or whatever. Yeah,
great. Another great question. In the virtual, if there was one blessing that COVID brought upon us, it's that a lot of us, especially in this industry, have shifted to the virtual model, which I think is the way to do things moving forward. I spent the first 15 years of my career sitting kneecap to kneecap with folks and face to face with them, and there was nothing. Those meetings were not any better or more productive or more effective and efficient than the work that we do in a virtual engagement. And not to mention, that's opened us up to the opportunity to work with people all over the country. Right. I'm located just outside of San Diego in a tiny little town called Ramona, and I can't imagine having to get back in my car every day in Southern California traffic to drive to my office to do this job. It just doesn't make any sense. And not to mention we can work with people. Again, we can work with people anywhere. I have clients that are back in Massachusetts and Rhode Island and Connecticut, down to Florida, Texas. We're all over the country at this stage of the game. And again, it's just much more effective and efficient, because who wants to sit in traffic to drive to my office so we can talk about money for an hour just to get back in the car and sit in traffic to go home? It doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't. So much more effective to do it this way. And all right, so let's talk about this emerging millionaire concept you have. I really is intriguing to me. Talk about that, and what do you mean by that as you are? What is an emerging millionaire?
We talked about it a little bit as far as what that process looks like. The method that we follow is really just following three keys, taking everybody through three key steps: the profiling, planning, and presenting phase of financial planning. But emerging millionaires are exactly who I mentioned earlier. I say all the time, like, you might not be a millionaire yet.
Okay.
You may not be a millionaire today, but if you do the things that we're going to coach you and help you do, and follow the steps that we're going to outline for you, you will be one someday. Yeah. There's no reason why you wouldn't be.
Right.
If you go off the rails and you do your own thing and you change direction and make other decisions, I can't do anything about that. But if you follow the script, because I work for a big name company, I won't mention the name, but you can look at my profile, but at one point I had 450 clients that I was working for just that company. So over my almost 20 years of doing this, I worked with, probably 1,000, maybe 1,500 different, households and individual clients, taking them through the same process. So I know it works.
Yeah.
So the emerging millionaires that are out there, those that are hoping to be one someday, if they just follow the process, then I feel like we can get them to where they want to be.
Yeah. And that's really cool. I love that you have a process and you're also the guide, as I would put you, because I mean, I've read the books, right? Of all the million, and it's great to read a book, but then I close the book, I'm going, okay, what's my first step? I mean, it's still blurry out there. Whereas in engaging with Jamie and his team to go, okay, here's who I am. Here are my values. Yeah, I'd love to be a millionaire someday. Can I do it tomorrow? Well, yeah, maybe not tomorrow. It might take a few years, but I mean, are those kind of the discussions you have with people?
Absolutely. And the one thing that we do, I think that's a little bit different than some other advisory firms that are out there is you mentioned the book. Well, yeah. I can provide you, if you were a client of mine, I can certainly provide you with a 75-page financial plan that is basically a book that is going to tell you exactly what you want to do. But 9 times out of 10, it's going to sit on the shelf and collect a bunch of dust, because who's going to read a 75-page financial plan? So what we do is going back to the roadmap aspect of this discussion and the planning process. We create what's called a 1-page financial plan for everybody, because one of my core foundational business beliefs is that your financial plan should fit on a Post-it note. Yep. It should be so simple and so easy to execute that you can put it on the fridge and you can go, okay, that's the next thing I need to do, and keep it and be able to execute on it. Because a plan without a process and action against it is just a piece of paper, effectively. So that's how we keep the ball moving forward with the 1-page plan. And what it does is it outlines things like the client's values and the goals and objectives that they have and what they really want to accomplish by engaging us as a client. And that's our true north. So we revisit that every time we meet. Is this still the same? I have some clients that it's literally, I just want to be educated on this stuff so I can make better financial decisions and learn more about how the world works as it relates to finance. That might be the true north for someone, and we'll just keep that on there until it changes. And we just keep going back to that every meeting. And then we have action steps of, here's what I'm going to do next before our next meeting. Here's what you need to do. And then this is what we're going to do. So these are your action steps now. These are your action steps onto the future. And here are the things that we're going to do over the course of the next couple of years together. And we set goals and we put target dates on them, because we follow the SMART goal, the framework, which is specific, measurable, aligned, realistic, and time-bound goals. And we want to make sure that we have them time-bound so we can know what we're aiming for and where we want to achieve them. And I think having that one piece, one document allows people to walk away with some tangible thing that they know that they can go back to when they have questions, like you mentioned.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny. I took a trip this week and I was flying Southwest, and they gave us, the little drink on the Coke or whatever it was. And they had the napkin, and all their napkins are fun because they have little sayings on them. But this particular one said something like, it all started on a napkin, and and it had a triangle: Dallas, San Antonio, Houston. And that's where Southwest started, on a napkin. Now they're a multi-billion-dollar company. Amazing. But the same thing with an emerging millionaire is you need to start simple. And I love the Post-it note idea, the roadmap to go. And the 1-pager is something you could keep it on your fridge or in your bedroom, because too many times what I found is read a big old plan and, well, I'm going to stick it over there for a little bit. And
exactly.
We forget. So I love how you continue to review and can keep it in front of people, because that's probably 90% of it is just saying, oh no, this is where we're going.
1,000%.
Right?
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah. All right. So you are and this, I wanted to dive in because you do things a little differently. You're a fee-based advisor. Is that right? Is that how you say that?
Fee only. Yeah, we're fee only.
So
exactly.
So unpack that and how you kind of do that a bit differently than others. Because I mean, dude, I am not that wealthy. I probably can't afford you. And that's for the ultra rich guys. Unpack that.
That's what most people think. And that's why I decided to change the trajectory of my career by launching this company almost 3 years ago now. in my old life with the bigger name firms that I work for, that's who I worked with, is the people that you just mentioned, like the people that have big time dollars and they have large brokerage accounts, large retirement accounts, and they were just trying to figure out ways to spend it, frankly. And it was a little boring, to be honest.
Yeah.
But now working with the much younger demographic, the most people that we work with are somewhere between the age of 30 and 50.
Okay.
And much younger crowd than I've worked with in the past. And what fee only means is effectively that we don't receive any compensation from anyone other than you as the client. We don't get kickbacks. We're not paid commissions. There are no trading costs. I have a California insurance license and I can sell insurance, but we don't in this environment because we would receive commissions. So there's a conflict there. And the main reason why we do that is to avoid the conflicts of interest. And it really puts us on your side of the table, which is a lot different than what a lot of advisory firms are like out there, because they are incentivized to sell you something.
Right.
There are a lot of firms that are out there that are just trying to take you through an assembly line to figure out what kind of product they can put you in and then move on to the next person. Our approach is totally different. And so we do what's called a subscription service. And you pay us a small amount of money up front to get the wheels in motion. You get and compensate us for our time up front to get things started and onboard you and collect the information and start building the plan and so on. And then you just pay monthly like any other subscription. Hopefully it's a little more valuable than your Netflix subscription, but I want to try to find a better word for the subscription word, but that's kind of what it is. So if you work with us, if you work with us for 6 months and you're in a good spot and you want to walk away and come back 2 years later, you can do that. There's no long-term commitment. You're not going to sign a contract. You have to sign a financial planning agreement to make sure we legally can provide you the advice we do. But beyond that, and even though we allow for the short-term engagements, I would say, if I had to guess, 95 to 97% of the clients we work with that started with us are still with us because we're driving value. And by having that ongoing subscription base, it's also more palatable to people's pocketbooks, and it's not a burden to the budget.
Right.
Unlike what other firms charge.
Yeah. I'm taking notes because you've got palatable to the pocketbook and burden to the budget. I love that. But that's a different model, which I really like, because if you're an emerging millionaire and you've only got $150,000 in your portfolio or something, you haven't crested that, and you probably don't have $8,000 a year to give to him, or what, I don't even know what the fees are, but you come to them and you meet people where they are because they're mid-career, they're really young, 30 to 50. Okay, how do we help you get to, in the next 10, 20, 50 years, whatever it is, to hit that status, to set things up so that you've got things in place, not only for yourself, for your kids, for college, for your parents, things. How do you do that? What's that plan look like? That's what you help them engage with. Right? Those are the discussions you're having. Is that fair?
100%. And that's exactly what we do. And my thought is, I would rather meet people earlier in their careers and in their lives and help them and start that relationship now, because these other firms that are out there, that, like that person you said that has $150,000 that they've saved in their 401k or whatever, if you go to some of these big name firms, they're going to tap you on the head, go, okay, nice try, kid, call me in 20 years.
Right.
We're taking a completely different approach. Those are the target folks that we want to work with, because we can grow with them, not from them. And that's the mandate of this organization, is we want to grow with you and not from you, and have longstanding relationships, because we are incentivized to keep you happy, because it's much easier to keep you as a client and keep you happy than it is to try to go out and find another one.
Absolutely.
Why would I not want to do that? And I have another probably 15, maybe 20 years of my career to do this. And I want to work with some really cool people that you frankly, I want to go out and have a beer with. And it's not the 75-year-old guy who won't take my phone call because he has too much money and he doesn't know what else to do with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's cool. And the other, man, talk about impact of legacy and generations. If you're working with 30 to 50 years, they're in family bearing age, they got kids, you set them up well, their kids understand this. It's a legacy for you. It's a legacy for the family. Here's how we should look at finances, because again, I mean, finance is a hard thing. There's so many options. And if you're not in it all day, every day, like you are, I just go to the lowest common denominator. And that's normally not the best thing to do.
No, you're absolutely right. And and that's the other aspect of this. We want to build relationships with maybe your parents and the older people that are in your lives that you may have to take care of in the next few years. That's one of the first questions I ask in our initial meetings is who are you going to be responsible for? Because it's not just, I know I'm going to venture to guess it's probably not just you, Mr. and Mrs. Klein. It's
Right.
going to be mom and dad. So we need to make sure we understand what their needs are and so on, because we have to plan for that.
Right.
And then a lot of the folks that we work with are starting to, we probably have 3 or 4 Woodson babies now that in the last 3 years, which is awesome. And I can see these people, they're starting to grow their families, and we're setting up college plans and so on. And that's going to hopefully lead into, then we'll be helping kids navigate some of their own decisions later on. And then since we already have a relationship with mom and dad, as they age, it's going to be this wash, rinse, repeat process where now we have a relationship with the kids who are worried about taking care of mom and dad, who have been clients with us for 20 plus years, whatever it is.
Yeah. And hopefully by then mom and dad have everything set up pretty well, that it's not a financial burden to their children. It's just navigating and negotiating and all that. But too many times people get stuck who are in that sandwich generation, they get stuck and mom and dad haven't really planned well. And that adds a lot of burden financially to the meat of the sandwich, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why we do a lot of estate planning with our clients. We'll work with them on their trusts and their wills and their financial power of attorneys, all the important documents that a lot of people in this age bracket tend to ignore because they have other areas of responsibility. They're juggling, spinning. There's too many spinning plates, and they have to get a little Susie to ballet class and Johnny to soccer practice and everything else. They're not paying attention to the important documents that are needed. And then heaven forbid, if something happens, I want to make sure they're taken care of. So one of the things we do with everyone is ensure that they have an estate plan in place as well.
Thank you for doing that.
You're welcome.
We could have a whole nother podcast on that one.
Yeah.
If you heard nothing of what Jamie just said, that is important.
Exactly.
Anyway. All right. Jamie, this has been amazing. I love what you do. I love how you do it. Want people to reach out and learn more about you. I love your website too. You've got some personal, go to Jamie's website, and actually he's got some video there, because it's one of my pet peeves in life is that most websites have no video at all. They were built in the 80s, that 1880s, that is. So you've got a great website. You're very personal. I know you're a family man, and I just applaud you for what you're doing and all of that. So Jamie, how can somebody take that next step and just find out more about you? Where do they go?
I would just go to the website. The website is woodsonwm.com. WOODSONWM, Woodson Wealth Management. So woodsonwm.com. And all our information is on there. We have our contact information is in there. You can schedule a 15-minute complimentary information session. We don't sell anything. All we do in those meetings is really just to get a sense of what you're looking for, and are we actually a fit for what your needs are. And if you're not, then we have a lot of people in our network that we can refer you to if necessary. But that's really the first step. There's no obligation or anything. We'll just have an initial conversation and see where we go from there.
That is refreshing. Woodson WM, like wealth management, woodsonwm.com. I'm going to have that in the show notes and everything. So if you're driving and listening to this, you can go to the show notes and find that. Reach out to Jamie. Go check out his website and schedule that 15-minute call. Learn about how you might actually be an emerging millionaire, and how Jamie is his subscription service. I love that. That is so cool. Could really just maybe help you out. So go to him. Check it out. See how he might be able to help you. Jamie, thank you. This has been such a fun, insightful interview. I appreciate you being here, man.
Absolutely. I appreciate your time. Thank you.